In this video, we are going to talk about the entire value chain of pharmaceuticals. So, starting from the very basic raw materials all the way to the end product, which you consume as a patient, whether that is in the form of tablets or syrups or injections. तो ये जो entire value chain है एकदम raw material से लेके end product तक, that is what we are going to understand in this video. And moving forward, I want to make more videos on pharma companies, but we cannot really understand a company until we understand the structure of the industry they're operating in. And therefore, I have decided to share this video with you. So let's first start with bulk materials, right? That is the basic raw material. These are smaller molecules like benzenes and ethanols and like really small basic functional groups which form आगे चल के more complex materials. So the first step is bulk material. The second step is intermediaries. So intermediaries are more complex molecules जो एक से ज़्यादा bulk material और एक से ज़्यादा functional groups को मिला के बनते हैं. And then we come to APIs. API stands for active pharmaceutical ingredient. This is the main salt. This is the main element in any medicine which gives it its therapeutic effect, right? तो जो असल दवा में जो असर होता है बीमारी को ट्रीट करने का, हील करने का, वो उसकी API की वजह से आता है. So API is that complex molecule which acts on the target site of the patient, which acts on the target organ on the target site to treat the disease that it wants to treat, right? And then we have formulations. So API, although it's the main salt, you cannot directly consume APIs, right? You need to package API in a form that is edible, in a form that can be consumed by the humans. So that is what formulation is. That is what formulation is. And so formulation can be in the form of syrup and in the form of tablets, as we'll see. And then after formulations, we have finished dosages. तो formulation से आपका जो मेडिकेशन है वो एक कंज्यूमेबल फॉर्म में आ गया. अब उसको सही तरीके से तैयार करना, उसको पैक करना, उसको बॉटलिंग करना, उसको कवर लगाना एंड टू मेक इट रेडी टू शिप टू द फाइनल कंज्यूमर, that is where FD comes in, or finished dosages. Now let's see each of these in more detail. Starting material. So starting material are basic functional groups and small molecules like ethylene, propylene, butadiene, benzene, toluene. These are basic materials, right? And anyone who has studied chemistry knows that this is the starting material for countless for countless chemical reactions, or there are tons and hundreds of things that you can make from these basic elements. These are not elements, these are molecules, but these are still very basic molecules. Then you come to intermediaries. Intermediaries are larger and more complex molecules, right? For example, sulfur containing intermediaries, heterocyclical peptides, organometallics, and each of these intermediaries are prepared for different kind of APIs, and each API is prepared for different kind of diseases or different kind of medication. Right, so each of the API is prepared for different kind of medication, and each different API requires a different kind of intermediary. So there is a group of medication which is for pain relief. There's a group of medication which is for fighting fever. Then there are medications for cancer, oncology medicines, and then there is for TB. Then there is for all sorts of different things, different organs in the body, different kind of diseases. So for each disease there's a different API. For each API there's a different kind of intermediary, which is a more complex molecule. Then coming to APIs itself, API, as I said, is the main salt which gives the medicine its therapeutic properties. Now APIs, from a commercial point of view, we can view it in different manners. The first is generic API. So ये वो API है which has a very very broad use case. For example, probably the most famous API is paracetamol, right? So paracetamol is used as a painkiller, also as a way to sort of calm down your fever, which is essentially what a painkiller is. So this is generic APIs. Then there are specialty APIs, which are APIs which have a more niche, a more focused area of use. An extension of specialty APIs would be innovative APIs. So innovative APIs are those which have a special use case but are also new. So either they might be treating a new disease, or they might be attempting to treat to treat an existing disease in a better fashion, in a newer fashion, in a less intrusive manner, with less side effects, right? So that's one way to look at APIs. The other way is, off patent and patented API. So off patent are those APIs जिसमें patent expire कर चुका है, so any company in the world can manufacture that API. And patented APIs are those which are still on patent. So the company जिसके पास उसका patent है और जो उसको मैन्युफैक्चर कर रहा है, they can earn much higher margins on patented APIs, and the reason is no one else is making it, right? So there is no competition, so the margins are really high. So this is the beauty of it, but obviously this is the also the dark side of capitalism, because we don't want uh, patients who cannot afford such medications to be left out, right? And that is where other solutions like insurance and takaful comes into play, but that's a separate topic. I was just talking about how we can view different kind of APIs. Then we come to formulations. So as I said, formulation is simply packaging the API with non-active ingredients just to give it a shape, just to give it a form, as the term formulation suggests, to give it a form such that it can be consumed by humans, right? So the form can be a syrup or tablets or injections or capsules, right? So these are formulations. Then ultimately you go to finished dosages. So formulation with final packaging ready for shipment is finished dosages. This is the entire value chain of pharma companies, right? And whenever we are studying a company, we need to see कि जो company है वो इस पूरी chain में किस vertical में present है, या इस पूरी chain में वो exactly किस हिस्से में present है. And the closer we are to the end consumer, the higher our margins would be, right? So companies which are into formulations and finished dosages and APIs would have higher margins compared to companies which are in starting bulk materials and intermediaries, because as you go closer and closer to the consumer, the more niche and the more personalized you become, and the more you can add your margins up, right? And also आप जो दवा बना रहे हैं, whether those are generic or specialty, that also has a huge effect on your margins. Whether that is off patent or patented, that also has a huge effect on your margins and your competitive advantage, right? Now I have some interesting chart for you. This is a chart that I built. It's not the most neat chart in the world, but I'm trying to give you all an understanding of how to look at pharma companies. So not all pharma companies do everything. One pharma company can be present in more than one division. For example, Aarti Industries is present in starting bulk materials. It is also present in intermediaries. It is also present in APIs. Whereas Divi's Lab, which is, I would say, a more successful company, is present mostly in only intermediaries and APIs. And Divi's Lab only selects those APIs which it believes it can, it can basically do absolute mass production, very high scale of production with those APIs. And when they do this, and they have done this successfully, they're able to basically uh, get really low cost of production, because economies of scale come into play, operating leverage comes into play, and they're able to produce these APIs at a very low cost compared to its competitors, and they're able to sell it at very, very high and very, very lucrative margins. That's the business model of Divis Lab. Then we have Pyramid Pharma, which is into CDMO. CDMO is Contract Development and Manufacturing Organization. We'll talk about CDMOs more in the upcoming videos. And then Pyramid Pharma is mostly into APIs and formulations. And then you have absolute giants like Sun Pharma and Cipla, which are present almost all throughout the value chain. So from intermediaries to APIs to formulations to finished dosages. And I'm pretty sure कि Sun और Cipla जो है वो starting bulk material भी अपना produce करता होगा और कुछ outsource करता होगा. So whenever we are studying a company, we should know कि industry structure क्या है, and we should also know कि उस कंपनी का उस इंडस्ट्री स्ट्रक्चर में एग्जैक्टली कहाँ वैल्यू प्ले है, वेयर एग्जैक्टली इज द कंपनी playing itself out. Is it in the intermediary space? Is it in the API space? Is it in the formulation space? And for each division, what is the margin that it has? What is the dominance that the company has? What is the competitive advantage that Cipla has in formulation over Pyramid Pharma? What is the competitive advantage that Divis Lab has over Aarti's lab in intermediaries, for example? So when you try to study these things in detail, then you really try to understand, तब आपको समझ में आता है कि हाँ ये कंपनी अच्छा इन्वेस्टमेंट है या नहीं है, ये कंपनी एक्चुअली ऑपरेट कैसे करती है, ये कंपनी इस इंडस्ट्री में काम कैसे करती है, इस इंडस्ट्री में बाकी प्लेयर्स कैसे काम करते हैं. This you need to understand, only then you'll be able to make confident and well-informed investment decisions. So thanks for watching, and in the future videos we are going to टॉक अबाउट मोर इंटरेस्टिंग फार्मा कंपनीज. ये तो सिर्फ एग्जाम्पल के तौर पे मैंने कुछ कंपनीज यहाँ जिक्र कर दी. इसके अलावा वी हैव Syngene and we have a lot of other companies. Probably the next video will be on Syngene. So make sure you have subscribed to this channel and I'll see you very soon.